want it? Don't you want it? Don't you want it?
You know, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually used to like the hell out of Overwatch, mainly because a lot of my friends played it, and also to 12-year-old me at the time, Reaper was the coolest fucking thing I had seen next to Travis Touchdown and Sephiroth. I look at Reaper's design and tell me that that shit does not have sauce on it to this day. That and Overwatch draws a lot from superhero stuff, and I like superhero stuff, and well, speaking of superhero stuff, much like Kyle Rayner's girlfriend Alexandra DeWitt, Blizzard decided to butcher the hell out of the lore and put it in a fucking fridge for all to see. One of the characters basically responsible for butchering said lore and trying to put it back together like some fucked up Lego is Vendetta. And I know people thought Kiriko was breaking lore, but all they really had to do was just change one thing about her and it would be perfectly fine. Meanwhile, Vendetta is like the LeBron James of breaking the Overwatch lore. So strap in and, well, punch a grifter right in the fucking face and, well, watch an idiot like me explain why a character like Vendetta is garbage. When you look back at Overwatch's villain characters within the lore, they always have something cool or thought-provoking about them to an extent. I'm saying that just because you have characters like Maximilian who kind of just exist. But here, we have Moira, who is a cruel person who will do whatever she believes is necessary to push the scientific boundary, even literally going as far as to essentially poison her fucking self just to do so. Doomfist, he believes that conflict will make humanity stronger and improve, and no matter what he has to do, he will spark conflict in the hopes to improve humanity. And then we have Ramatra, who is the best villain in the entire goddamn game. Ramatra wants Omnics to rise against their oppressors and get rid of all of mankind because he believes that's what's best for his kind. So, what kind of weird and complex motivation does Vendetta want? Well, she just wants to have her dad's criminal empire and inheritance and is mad at the fact that Reaper basically decided to kaploosh his head off during that one mission.
I'm not prostituting my
writing.
What is for a good cause?
No, don't get.
You compare that to the other characters that I just mentioned earlier, and it's not that good of a motive, and it makes her stick out like a sore thumb because of how bland it is. It's a simple revenge story, and while a revenge story that is simple isn't really a bad thing necessarily, it kind of comes about as this kind of cringy DeviantArt OC thing. It kind of comes more across as that than an actual coherent writing thing. And like I said earlier, it doesn't have as much substance as the other characters that I just mentioned earlier. Not to mention the fact that Talon was never really a normal criminal empire. It's not like a mafia of sorts or a syndicate. It was pretty much a fucking terrorist ring in the lore. When she was in her 20s, it wasn't even a real part of Talon when all of that went down. So she's doing all of this, why? Just to get back something she was never even a part of, let alone supposed to be a part of. Yeah, they probably only went with this idea because it sounded cool and not because it actually made sense. Same goes for, well, everything else involving her writing because it pretty much has to bend over backwards and screw over other previous lore just to make her look good.
Chit-chat room, going back and forth with some other fucking jerk-off. Giggling like a little schoolgirl.
Now, I know this word is pretty much has been ruined by chuds who don't actually know the actual fucking meaning of the word, but Vendetta is a Mary Sue. Let's just call it for what it is. She's the daughter of Antonio Bartolotti, you know, the rich and powerful guy everyone totally remembers only because Reaper decided to shoot him out of a window. She's a super good Coliseum fighter that not only rose to be super wealthy just to get a pretty much cool sword, that's pretty much just the whole selling point of her character is that she uses a sword like characters in the other game that you're probably playing, cough cough. This somehow makes her stronger than Doomfist, and also somehow smart enough to lead Talon despite never being a part of it in the first place. This chick also somehow scares Reaper to the point where he's afraid that he will die even though he's immortal and he's held his own against Ana and Soldier at the same time. And again, somehow she's better than Doomfist when it comes down to fighting. You know, the same guy that could take out militaries and nearly murked Tracer out of existence. All of this while never really being mentioned once before this and effectively ruining Talon as a result. This is just Michael Bay levels of inconsistent writing. And much like every Mary Sue, the story pretty much has to bend over backwards just to make herself seem strong, all because the writers decided to out their previous complex characters with newer, more brain-off ones, because it was pretty much easier to write. The forced weakening of Talon under Doomfist just to make way for this newer, never heard of before and somehow better fighter than him villain, whose whole entire purpose is basically one-dimensionally selfish, is just stupid. It throws away all of the writing that had been built up between Doomfist Doomfist and Talon, all up to this point, all for the sake of aura and hype moments for the Mary Sue character. Things like Reaper being scared of Vendetta despite him basically being able to solo her on his worst day, and Doomfist being replaced with this character is very, very stupid. Pretty much because you have an already interesting character with a lot more build-up being replaced by a much more simple-minded revenge story character that's just mad that her dad was lit up like a Christmas tree, and mad that she couldn't be a part of this little group of theirs. You know, the one that she wasn't even supposed to be a part of, by the way. It drives them into a corner narratively, because now what? The daughter of the old crime boss is back and, you know, took over, and they'll do what exactly? Retake and just make it a ruthless militaristic empire, much like how Doomfist did it? If that's the case, then it literally regresses the lore for the sole reason to remake it, but with her at the helm instead of the built-up character and motivation. Overwatch is in a weird spot, and for every good thing they decide to do about the gameplay, they make 50 bad decisions with the lore. And all we could really do about it is just hope that the writing decides to just somehow improve. Although, judging from what I said earlier and how Overwatch 2 is with lore, it's probably never gonna happen if I'm being completely honest. I do feel like there's a weird chance for them to turn this around. They just kind of have to lock in and actually go with it, but who really knows what the future holds? Because again, who knows, maybe this video will be obsolete God knows how many years or months later, or maybe it will get more and more like what I've said in this video. All we could really do is just hope that the writing improves, but for now, we have to deal with the Mary Sue sword lady who's only really made to totally not compete with the other game.
I need something in return.
Thanks for actually sticking around for this video if you did. I am still working on the Rob Zombie Halloween video. It's pretty much just going to be a two-parter because, well, it's a two-parter movie. I might as well talk about both parts because, hey, I might as well give you guys a two-parter. It won the vote anyways. Like, the Rob Zombie Halloween movie video already won the poll anyways that I put up a few days ago. And then after that, I'll probably talk about, well, not even probably, I'll pretty much talk about the 2 FNAF movies that we have so far. But until then, yeah, overall, Vendetta fucking sucks in Overwatch 2, and she's totally not made to compete with the character from Marvel Rivals.